think it's really exciting when the music video and the song can just like so strongly reinforce each other. I love to be able to give songs dramatic movement like that. A lot of the time a pop song especially, will just kind of sit in the zone, which is great. But it's fun to every now and then break that mold.
Engel. Today I'm with Jeremy of Marian Hill.
Hey.
So you were born in Philly, right?
Yes. Actually, no. Actually, I was born in New York. I grew up in Philly. I moved there when I was like 6.
Yeah. Were your parents from New York or Philly, or?
They met in New York. My mom's from St. Louis, Missouri, and my dad's from upstate New York.
Didn't they meet in like opera class or something?
Yes, correct. They met in an opera class, and yeah, they lived in New York until they had me, and then my dad went back to grad school for music, and we bopped around for a bit.
Yeah, it was a really musical upbringing. Like they played piano all the time. Didn't your dog also like know how to sing or something?
Yes.
I'm like trying to imagine that.
My dog Jake, who is now my publishing alias, is Jake the Wonder Dog Publishing.
Yeah.
But he was amazing. Giant golden retriever, part husky, we think, because he had like a white mark on his head and white socks. But he would always sing when anybody in the family was singing.
I love that. And you requested to like learn violin yourself.
Yes, you've done your research. That's the story. I have no memory of it, but I'm told that when I was 4 and a half, I asked to start learning violin, and that was my gateway into understanding music.
Yeah. What about it attracted you initially?
When I was 4, I don't know. I don't remember. I truly don't.
And did you practice a lot? Were you like competitive in any way, or?
I mean, I played from when I was 4 to 14, so I definitely got good, but there was a certain point where the intensive practicing wasn't for me. Like I got to a stage around when I was 13 or 14 where it was basically like I was having conversations with my teacher and my parents that were like, if you want to get better from this point, you're going to need to start practicing like upwards of 2 hours a day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Wow.
And at the time, I'm a 13-year-old. I'm like just starting to get into theater. I'm taking piano too. There's like, I'm in school. There's so many I have friends. There are all these other things I want to do. And I was just like, do I want to be a concert violinist?
For the rest of your life?
Yeah, and I ultimately didn't. So I can still pick it up and play it, and it actually shows up on Unusual a little bit on the album, which was really fun. I plucked it.
I'm going to re-listen to that.
Yeah, I plucked it on listening.
Wow.
That's me playing my violin in my bedroom. But it was, I was talking to my girlfriend about this because she played violin from really young too. And there's something about learning a string instrument from a young age that I think is really good for your sense of tuning. Because unlike piano, where like you can't play out of tune on the piano, it's really easy to play out of tune on a violin, and it's all there's no frets to tell you where to put your hands. You just have to like learn how to know when every note is in the right place with your finger, like the subtle nuances of that. And when you're doing that as like a young kid, I feel like it's invaluable in terms of just giving you a sense of tuning.
Yeah. How did you get into musical theater initially?
I think it was because in high school, and middle school too, if you sang, it was like there was choir and then there was the musicals. And like all the kids in choir did the musicals, and it was actually 7th grade. I, up until that point, was really into basketball, and then I didn't make the 7th grade basketball team. It was definitely the biggest like letdown I'd had in my life at that point. Because I'd been just like, basketball's my thing, and then to not even make the middle school team, I was like, damn. But all my friends were going out for the musical, and they conflicted. I wouldn't have been able to do both, but then I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll like audition for the musical, and
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that became a track for a while.
Did you like school back then?
If the teacher was good.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had classes I liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go to Yale for musical theater compared to all the other schools or programs you could have done?
The short answer is I got into Yale early, and I liked it enough, and I was really excited. So it wasn't. I was lucky to not have it be much of a big decision.
Yeah.
I think my dad went to grad school at Yale, so it always had a certain nice thing about it. And also from visits I'd done and people I'd talked to, Yale had a really good music and theater scene and really good music and theater grad schools.
Yeah.
So it was just a really cool environment to be doing both of those things.
Looking back, do you think you learned a lot from it that helped you now?
Yeah. One of the biggest things was I was in an experimental theater group called the Control Group, and we would devise theater pieces together. And Zach Bell, our creative director, was in that group with me for 4 years. So he was somebody that then when I was doing music, we had a built-in collaborative relationship on making all kinds of art together. And it was really easy to transition into hey, we've got to figure out cover art. Hey, we've got to figure out a music video. And we built up a vocabulary through all these theater classes we took together. There's one class with this director, Robert Woodruff, who's this big avant-garde theater director, and you would devise a new piece every week based on prompts that you'd get friends to cast in and make happen wherever on campus. And it was such a valuable kind of crash course in making compelling stuff and thinking about what makes something compelling and relationships between music and movement and text and all that I'm really lucky to have as a backbone in the career I'm in now.
So you met Sam when you were way younger through
Yes.
musical stuff. What made you want to reconnect so many years later?
I mean, we were always, especially later in high school, pretty good friends, and I knew she was writing songs, and I always thought she had an incredible voice. So it was a thing where once I was in college, and for a long time making beats and doing production had been a hobby of mine, and at the end of college I started to be ooh, I could actually be good at this. This could really be a thing I could do. I want to try it out. And of course, Sam was one of the best singers I knew, and I loved her writing. So it was we were already catching up on breaks and occasionally working on songs together, and things really clicked and made sense with Whisky.
Were you already putting out stuff on another alias by yourself before that point?
I mean, it happened around the same time as I had one other project with a friend from college that I had one song from, and I basically put them both out, I think a month apart, emailing to them to a bunch of Hype Machine blogs that I'd researched.
Hype Machine was a huge part,
yeah, Hype
even
Machine, we have
even
a lot,
before that
we owe
song,
a lot to Hype Machine.
You've been checking out the charts all the time. It was a huge part of your discovery.
Yeah, I mean, that was, if there was a music scene that we came up in, that was it.
Yeah.
We were always up to date with what was happening on Hype Machine and what was new, and it was such a great organic way because to come up as an artist and to know that what you were making was exciting to people.
What clicked to you to become a duo compared to just her featuring on your tracks or you on hers?
I think at the time, even before I was really into production, I always loved consistency in production on projects. I love Kanye albums for that reason, is that that he's executive produced the whole thing and there's a cohesive sound to the record. And Drake, it's similar because he has 40, and at the time also a Luna George was coming up, and churches were coming up, and I loved the idea of a producer being an artist, and instead of an album where there's different producers on every few songs, that's also really cool, but I was just always drawn to being able to have a full vision over a record as a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I was really drawn to the duo idea, because I knew I could like dig in and like develop a sound and make really interesting music as an artist with a collaborator who I really loved working with.
Mm-hmm. Were you ever afraid of being a duo?
I don't find anything that's scary about it.
Mm-hmm. Like after school, you moved back to New York. Were you like working other jobs, or were you like, how were you living?
I got really lucky because when I was home for the summer after college, kind of working on Marian Hill stuff, and it was just starting to happen, I was emailed out of the blue by a Korean company that makes children's audiobooks in South Korea.
Yeah.
To teach children English.
Oh.
And they had basically either been referred to me by a musical theater writer they knew, or like seen me on a concert program with other musical theater writers they worked with. And I basically got this gig, just like they would send me the like lyric lessons, and I would like set them to music, produce the music, send it back.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, it didn't pay amazingly, but it paid enough that I was able to support myself off that and for a bit. And I think just when that money was about to run out, Marian Hill finally kicked in with the money.
Oh,
so I was very lucky to be able to sustain myself in New York. I was definitely on a much tighter budget, but I was able to sustain myself in New York for a good year before Marian Hill kicked in.
And how do you decide that you wanted to go with this like management company record label?
Management was kind of easy. They found us pretty early on, and were down to basically work with us from the start without pay, because we weren't making money at the start either. And that, I think, built a lot of trust to like work that way for several months, so that when money finally started coming, we were like, well, like we wouldn't have this if not for the help you've given us. And we've just been able to build a relationship from there. I think we're really lucky to have had the same management since we started for like 4 or 5 years now. And I think we're lucky to be, like, because of that, we're always a priority for them, and we're like the number one client they have, and it's a fortunate thing.
Yeah. How do you choose your like style of music videos? I feel like there's a very like Marian Hill kind of style.
Thank
aesthetic.
you. I try really hard. I'm so hard on myself when it comes to the music videos. I think making music videos is very hard. I think there are like maybe 10 amazing music videos a year, and God knows there are like hundreds released every year. I just think it's a hard medium, but I think it can be a really fun one.
Do you have specific like directors or
I mean,
films that you're inspired by?
I
know Great Gatsby is one.
Yeah. Let's see. Directors of films I'm inspired by. I love the visual style of the show Legion that's on right now on FX. I mean, the most recent Kendrick videos have been absolutely amazing. I've also been obsessed with the Sophie videos, specifically the most recent one. Her new video for Face Shopping is unreal. I saw her show in Brooklyn live with friends, and the video was projected like on a massive screen behind her, and it's just so next level and of a piece with the music. I think it's really exciting when the music video and the song can just like so strongly reinforce each other.
What was the idea behind the song and video differently?
So start with the song. It's actually funny. The song, the first chorus came first with the whole like, tell me, does she blank like me? Does she blank like me? Riff on that. And we really liked how that sang and felt with the beat. But we were just like, oh, but isn't that kind of like a maybe like a bad message to just be just like jealous, and like is that what we want this to be, like a pump up anthem about? And then as we were working through that, we figured out how we do it on another song on the album, Don't Do It, but it's really fun for us to have a song evolve and have like a different altered chorus that brings new meaning to everything. And I think when it clicked for us that, like, we'd keep the first chorus like it was, but it would be what she's telling her friend she doesn't want her to do, and that she knows she wants to do, and then we could flip it at the end. Then it really came together, and I love to be able to give songs dramatic movement like that. A lot of the time a pop song especially, will just kind of sit in the zone, which is great, but it's fun to every now and then break that mold and make sure people are listening to the lyrics.
Yeah.
And if so, they can get this really cool evolution. And the video came from our creative director, Zach Bell, who I was talking about earlier. We were just excited about the idea of doing like a smaller, intimate, low-budget video that could still feel really affecting and like of our style. And Zach knows our style better than anyone. Like, he's been building the whole Unusual aesthetic with us since the beginning. So he had the idea of the tableau, of like people popping in and like making this beautiful, like, to me it's like a fresco or something.
Yeah, and all singing.
Yeah. But initially the idea was just like, it's all these women, and we were just like, well, like, who are these women and why? Like, are we just gonna like cast and like pick people's headshots? And then like it all just felt kind of contrived that way, because since these women had such a central role, it was like who they need to be specific. There needs to be a reason that it's them. And then we were like, what if we did our fans?
Oh.
And it's something we've thought about for a while, but I think in various ways we're just like a little scared or nervous, and you like don't want to do a kind of thing like that and not get enough responses. But we felt like we were at a point where we could, and it was so cool.
Yeah,
we
that
were
was
like
so
bowled
cool.
over. We were like nervous. We weren't sure how it was gonna go, because you know it's all these people that are just gonna come in, and you like, it was like 21 or 22 women we haven't met before.
Yeah.
Who our director is going to need to get to do things in a timely fashion on the day just right. And it honestly couldn't have gone better.
Yeah, it's so good.
They were all like so great to work with, so much fun, and we got all the stuff we wanted. I think it turned out so good.
Why is climate change such a big part of you?
Oh, I mean, how can it not be? I think is the bigger answer. I mean, I took classes on it in school and like have been aware of it for a while, and it's especially now when like it's just better for everybody to be like, electric cars are way better. Like, I wish we could all have solar panels and batteries, and we're working on that, and they're just lots of things that are more sustainable and ultimately good, even if you're not thinking about global warming. But of course, like, yeah, it's a big thing, and I think for us, especially in light of the past 2 years, it became a thing of like, we have a platform, and what are we doing with it? So we try to do what we can to do what we can.
How do you think your music has changed since the early songs you made?
It's funny. I will answer this, but I want to start by saying it's one of the hardest questions for me to answer, because I feel like my perspective on my music is so specific to me because I'm making it, and I'm like so much more curious for people who aren't me to tell me how it has changed, because I mean, how they perceive it, it's to me more true to the reality of the thing. But I think for me, I'm always trying to learn new stuff, and I'm always trying to get new sounds and try new things and push myself. Early on, like especially like Sway, that was me learning to produce well. Like Whisky was the best thing I had ever made by like a significant margin, like a very big margin, and it was the best thing to happen to me that was so well received, because then I could be like, okay, like I've been trying so many different things, this thing's working. Yeah. So how do I lean into this and do more of that? And that was a lot of what Sway was. Act 1 became like broadening that and being like, now that I feel like I'm a good producer, let me see all the different things I can do that can fit into the umbrella of Marian Hill. And then with Unusual, I think the unifying thing that Sam and I were talking about going into making the record was that we wanted it to be both weirder and poppier at the same time, which is like a fun thing to write towards. I'm not sure if we did it. We might keep having that be our motivator, because I think it's a really cool way to like challenge yourself in opposite directions. But I think the new stuff along with that is harder hitting and kind of bigger and like stronger, more impactful is definitely what I was going for. We were thinking a lot about, like, with this unusual style, wanting to make people feel really good and strong and badass and powerful when they heard the music, and I was thinking about that a lot as I made all these, that kind of swagger and strength and bigness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a walkthrough as best I can.
How would you say you've grown as a person since when you started?
I mean, when I started, I was just out of college, and now I've been out of college for 5 years, which I think is bigger than any of the other stuff. I feel like it's just such a big question. I've changed in innumerable ways. I think I've learned more of like what I like and what I need and what makes me happy and what my like ideal daily routines are and what I want to do with my life. Because leaving college, I was like, maybe I'll be an actor, maybe I'll be a singer, maybe I'll write music. And I've really found a happy place and a happy zone for myself in writing songs and producing. I'm just like so happy to be in the studio making music all day. And there are still like other things that might be like, it might be fun to act sometime, might be fun to do another thing sometime, but really like making music is the thing, and I know that.
Last question, what do you want to be remembered for?
Making great music, making music that really means something to people and that can stick with them as a soundtrack to their lives and their good times and their bad ones and everything in between. And I hope if people can have the kind of relationship with the music I've made that I have with my favorite artists, then like that's the dream. That's what I want.
I love this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.